The reported capture of Venezuela's President Nicolas Maduro has deepened political divisions in Washington and raised significant legal, constitutional, and diplomatic questions about the United States' approach to foreign policy and executive power. Although U.S. officials have avoided confirming the full details of the operation, describing it instead as an ongoing matter, the announcement has already triggered intense debate within the U.S. Congress, sparked strong reactions from international actors, and heightened uncertainty across Latin America. Venezuela's government has rejected the claim outright, calling it fabricated information designed to destabilize the country. Nevertheless, the controversy itself has become a defining moment in U.S.-Venezuela relations and a broader test of how far the United States is willing to go in confronting leaders it considers illegitimate. A relationship defined by hostility. Relations between the United States and Venezuela have been strained for decades, but tensions escalated sharply after Nicolas Maduro succeeded Hugo Chavez in 2013. Washington has accused Maduro of overseeing flawed elections, suppressing political opposition, and presiding over widespread human rights abuses. U.S. authorities have also alleged that senior figures within the Venezuelan government were involved in drug trafficking and corruption, accusations consistently denied by Caracas. In response, successive U.S. administrations imposed increasingly severe economic sanctions, targeting Venezuela's oil sector, financial institutions, and key individuals close to Maduro. Those sanctions were intended to pressure Maduro from power, yet he remained firmly in control, backed by the military and supported diplomatically by allies such as Russia, China, Iran, and Cuba. Over time, Venezuela's economic collapse led millions of citizens to flee the country, creating one of the largest migration crises in the Western Hemisphere. Against this backdrop, the alleged capture of Maduro represents a dramatic escalation in a conflict that had previously been fought largely through sanctions and diplomatic isolation. Unclear details, high stakes. Despite widespread media coverage, many details surrounding the reported capture remain unclear. U.S. officials have neither confirmed Maduro's location nor explained the legal framework under which the operation was conducted. The White House has said only that it is committed to accountability for those who undermine democracy and stability in the region. The lack of transparency has fueled speculation and concern. Analysts note that if Maduro were captured outside the context of a declared armed conflict, the move could represent an unprecedented step in U.S. foreign policy. Venezuela's government insists that Maduro remains free and in control, accusing Washington of engaging in psychological warfare. State television broadcast images of Maduro appearing at official events, though the authenticity and timing of those images have not been independently verified. Congress reacts, support and opposition. On Capitol Hill, reaction has been swift and divided. Supporters of the move argue that extraordinary circumstances justified extraordinary action. They say years of diplomacy and sanctions failed to change Maduro's behavior, and that the Venezuelan leader posed a growing threat to regional stability. Several lawmakers pointed to Venezuela's ties with U.S. adversaries, arguing that Caracas had become a strategic foothold for rival powers in the Americas. "This is not a conventional government," said one senior Republican senator. "It is a criminal enterprise that has devastated its own people and destabilized the region." Some Democrats also expressed cautious support, emphasizing the need to protect democratic norms and human rights in Latin America. However, opposition voices have been equally strong. Critics warn that capturing a sitting foreign president without explicit congressional authorization could violate both U.S. law and international norms. "This is not about defending Maduro," said one Democratic representative. "This is about defending the Constitution and the rule of law." Constitutional and legal concerns. At the heart of the controversy lies a fundamental constitutional question. Who has the authority to conduct such an operation? Under the U.S. Constitution, Congress holds the power to declare war and authorize military action. While presidents have broad authority over foreign policy and national security, critics argue that bypassing Congress risks undermining democratic oversight. Legal scholars have also raised concerns under international law. The capture of a sitting head of state could violate principles of sovereignty and non-intervention unless conducted under a clear legal mandate, such as an international arrest warrant or United Nations authorization. Even if Maduro were subject to criminal charges in the United States, experts note that enforcing those charges against a foreign president presents complex legal challenges. International reaction. The international response has been cautious but tense. Russia condemned the reported action, accusing the United States of destabilizing the global order. China echoed those concerns, calling for respect for national sovereignty and warning against unilateral interventions. Several Latin American governments have urged restraint, emphasizing the risk of further instability in a region already struggling with economic pressures and migration flows. The Organization of American States has called for clarification, while some governments privately fear that Venezuela could descend into further chaos if a sudden power vacuum emerges. Economic and regional implications. The uncertainty surrounding Venezuela's leadership has already had economic consequences. Oil markets reacted nervously amid concerns that renewed instability could disrupt supplies from a country with the world's largest proven oil reserves. Neighboring countries are also watching closely. Colombia, Brazil, and several Caribbean nations host large Venezuelan migrant populations and fear that political turmoil could trigger another wave of displacement. Humanitarian organizations warn that any escalation of conflict could worsen conditions for ordinary Venezuelans, many of whom already face shortages of food, medicine, and basic services. Political risks at home. For the U.S. administration, the controversy carries significant political risks. With elections approaching, the issue is likely to become a focal point in debates over foreign policy, executive power, and America's role in the world. Supporters may frame the move as evidence of decisive leadership, while opponents argue it reflects recklessness and disregard for democratic norms. The episode has also reopened long-standing debates about regime change, a concept deeply controversial in U.S. politics following past interventions in the Middle East and elsewhere. What happens next? Much now depends on what emerges in the coming days. If the United States provides clearer evidence and legal justification, some concerns may be eased. If not, pressure on the administration to explain its actions is likely to intensify. For Venezuela, the situation remains uncertain. Even if Maduro were removed from power, analysts caution that the country lacks strong institutions capable of managing a peaceful transition. This is not simply about one man, said one regional expert. It is about whether Venezuela can avoid further fragmentation. A broader question. Ultimately, the alleged capture of Nicolas Maduro raises a broader question about the nature of power in international politics. Can the United States act unilaterally in pursuit of its objectives? Or must it adhere strictly to international norms even when confronting leaders it views as illegitimate? And where should the line be drawn between accountability and intervention? As Congress debates, allies react, and global attention remains fixed on Caracas and Washington, one thing is clear. This episode marks a critical moment in U.S. foreign policy, one whose consequences may extend far beyond Venezuela.